we're in the fourth quarter, I think it's fair to say, of the game, and Oz has basically come back from a 3-touchdown deficit and taken the lead, and he now is favored to win in the state of Pennsylvania in the gambling markets. And a lot of times these polls run behind the gambling markets, but the poll that was just released in the last few minutes for the first time now has it as a dead heat. And I'm looking right now at the gambling markets, Buck, and money is pouring in right now on Dr. Oz. He has all the momentum. If you're in Pennsylvania, add more steam. This is good to see.
So if we had to pull together an impromptu radio show duo for you, a kind of bizarro, a bizarro Clay and Buck, right? If Clay and Buck went bad, if we had to descend to Hades, to the underworld, and there would be a duo doppelganger of us, I think that the Joe Biden and John Fetterman show would be high on the list. Like, I think if we could sit those two down.
I want to curse just reacting to this. They're currently flying together on Air Force One, by the way, which is where this idea is coming from.
And can you just imagine the two of them, like, trying to converse like normal guys? You got Joe Biden telling Fetterman stories about corn pop and the leg hair from back in the day, and remember that whole thing? And you get Fetterman there, who is, like, not aware of what is going on and starts all of a sudden saying something random out of nowhere. And the two of them, I mean, it's amazing that this is really what the Democrats are doing right now. And I think that I don't think it's going to work for Fetterman, although I guess somehow it's relatively close. I just have too much faith in the people of Pennsylvania. 51% of them are going to vote, plus, I should say, but, more than half of them are going to have to vote for Oz. I mean, this is crazy. But, Clay, the Fetterman-Biden radio duo, and also, by the way, an extra for VIPs to see the video on the podcast, I would watch. I would listen. I'm just going to say it. It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing.
I don't think that they could. I'm not saying that our job is the most complicated in the world. There are a ton of jobs that I would be really bad at, and some of them I've had. John Fetterman and Joe Biden doing this show for 3 hours would make them, they'd put the 25th Amendment in place for Biden. I'm not even kidding. I think if he did 3 hours of live radio, I think it had to get in and out of breaks, had to read commercial advertisements. I think that Joe Biden, they would put the 25th Amendment in. I don't even think, and this is crazy, who is more intelligible? I actually think Joe Biden would be better understood by this audience than Fetterman would.
Important. Who wins in Scrabble right now, Fetterman or Joe Biden? It's written. Remember, it's not audio-based.
No, I know. I'm trying to think who would be a better speller, because really that's kind of a spelling bee question, right?
Yes.
Like, I think Joe Biden would win.
Yeah, I think Joe Biden
I
wins.
don't think Fetterman physically is capable of, like, looking at letters and putting them together, which is, crazy. I don't think Joe Biden would be good at it.
The latest data on Oz Fetterman and Herschel Walker against Raphael Warnock. Clay, this is getting me in a good mood. You're telling me we've seen the first real indicator in a poll that Oz is now not dead heat, but ahead of Fetterman while he's on the plane with Biden, by the way.
Yes. So a couple of details here that I think are really significant. So we are right now in the state of Pennsylvania. Biden is campaigning with John Fetterman. That ain't good. That's how desperate Fetterman is, because most people in battleground states are running away from Joe Biden. But a poll just came out that has Oz and Fetterman officially tied. So it's not Oz up, but yesterday Oz became the leader in the gambling markets. This is an insider advantage poll that has shown a 3-point move in the direction of Dr. Oz since last month. And in governor's race, and we do need to get Doug Mastriano on, Buck, as you were saying, it is a 7-point run Shapiro versus Mastriano there. So, look, Pennsylvania ain't over. Oz, I believe, is going to pull ahead and beat Fetterman. And what's wild is the desperation that we are seeing that Fetterman feels like he's going to somehow benefit by having Joe Biden come to the state. And on top of that, Buck, to see Oz reverse all of this, the disaster that was out there for him when everybody was writing him off. I got to give us credit. You know, I hate to brag or draw
I like when you
attention to
give
the
us
show.
credit, by the way. You're good at giving us credit.
I'm shameless because nobody else will do our PR. We started saying back in the summer, hey, this race is not over. When everybody out there was telling you Oz is dead as a doornail, there's no possibility he's going to come back. We've had him on the show a bunch of times. We have said Fetterman is an awful candidate, and as this continues, he is going to chip away. And he now, look, if we're in the fourth quarter, I think it's fair to say, of the game, and Oz has basically come back from a 3-touchdown deficit and taken the lead, and he now is favored to win in the state of Pennsylvania in the gambling markets. And a lot of times these polls run behind the gambling markets, but the poll that was just released in the last few minutes for the first time now has it as a dead heat. And I'm looking right now at the gambling markets, Buck, and money is pouring in right now on Dr. Oz. He has all the momentum. If you're in Pennsylvania, add more steam. This is good to see.
As we've said, this election is a referendum on whether a majority of the American people care that Democrats have been wrong about everything for 2 years. Now that there's no guarantee here. A majority of people can vote for the dumbest things imaginable, but do a majority of Americans recognize and care that Democrats have been wrong about every major issue, every key decision? That's what this election really comes down to. And they've tried to run from this, Clay. They've tried to hide. We know. I mean, that Katie Hobbs position of like, well, we all know the debate is over about debates. Actually, we don't know that. But that was cute. That was funny. And Dr. Oz, by the way, who really has stepped it up, you got to give him credit. At every phase of the campaign, I think he's been elevating and honing his ability to reach and to connect to people. And he just points out, I mean, look at what is going on. We're talking about Fetterman right now on the plane with Biden, which, man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall.
Buck, just on that right now, Air Force One conversation. Can you think of a more unintelligible American political conversation in modern memory?
Just kidding.
Candidates, The View every day, yes. Fetterman and Biden. Can you think of a more unintelligible duo that has ever been having a conversation together in serious races, right? We're talking about Pennsylvania. This ain't a tiny little state. I mean, the 20 million people, whatever, live in Pennsylvania.
Imagine being the staffer who's supposed to translate between the two of them. I mean, they're both technically speaking English, but it's going to be rough.
And imagine the two of them talking back and forth. I don't even know that they could have an intelligible. I mean, I would pay anything for a transcript of these dudes talking to each other. And I think we're going to have audio here shortly. Biden already at the open of the dual speech that they're doing, wherever they are in Pennsylvania right now, he told Fetterman's wife, "You're going to do a great job in the Senate." So he's all, which sadly may be true. She may be the default senator for Pennsylvania since her husband can't talk. But in the opening, Biden has already told Fetterman's wife, "You're going to be a great senator."
John, thank you very much for running. I really do appreciate it. And Zell, you're gonna be a great lady in the Senate.
You're going to be a great lady in the Senate. That's the open of Biden's speech.
I mean, it's every day, folks, every day. And every day there's another story that also hammers home for everyone who's paying attention that the crime situation is out of control. They can try to evade this one, but everyone sees it. I mean, Dr. Oz here, speaking of Fetterman, hammered Fetterman on what's going on and the policies. Remember, it's not just that Fetterman's a Democrat. Fetterman is a Democrat who has been vocally, while he was in elected office, including as lieutenant governor, vocally supporting the very policies that any sane person recognizes has made The state of Pennsylvania, every state where this has been enacted, much less safe. Play clip 13. Here he is on Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania has become ground zero for fentanyl deaths. We're number 3 in the nation. Wow. We have the largest open-air drug market in Philadelphia. You go for blocks and blocks and only see addicts with needles sticking out of their bodies. And we're farming homelessness. Literally, Democratic policies have resulted in something that's shameful. They won't go there. I go there because I want to show that Republicans care about everybody. And I think our party has a big enough tent, and we love people wherever they are in their journey, that we can help people in addiction. And that's where we're going to win.
It is not kind. And I think this is so important because it affects Philadelphia, but it affects every city and town where they're having this problem across the country. It's certainly the case in San Francisco and Portland. Encouraging people who are clearly in a bad spot in their lives to just do fentanyl day in and day out. These drugs are so powerful, so addictive, and lethal if you just miss the dosage a little bit, or if you take something that comes from the cartels, you think you know what you're taking, you don't know what you're taking. To think that people are going to, Clay, improve their lives if they're being told, yeah, live in the streets, do fentanyl all day long, we'll give you clean needles, we'll give you whatever, if you're doing heroin, we'll give you whatever you need so that you can do these drugs safely. It's awful what is being done and what is being encouraged by these policies. And that then you add to it the decay and the sense of despair that people have in these cities. Like I just mentioned, San Francisco, people are walking around carrying baseball bats to go to the grocery store because they've got people who are not in their right minds, who are desperate and who are criminals, who are hooked on drugs, living out in open air in the streets, and the cops won't do anything about it.
People are changing their behaviors. And I've said this on the show. I think about where my wife stops to go get gas in the Nashville area in a way that I never have before. I've never said, hey, make sure you fill up out by our house because when you're downtown, I don't want you to have to stop at a gas station where it might not be safe. And I think there are dads, granddads, a lot of men out there with kids and wives who are spending a lot of time thinking about this in a way that you ordinarily have not. And that is, I've said this on the show since we started, Buck. Being concerned that you're too mean to criminals is a luxury of a low crime environment. It really is. If you're sitting around, you're saying, man, we're putting people in jail for too long. That's not fair. Okay, crime better be virtually non-existent for you to be sitting around worried that you're being too mean to criminals. That ain't the world we're in right now, Buck.
Even think about it. One of the big parts of the en masse incarceration movement, which people like Fetterman was in favor of emptying out 40% of the prisons.
Right. He now claims he wasn't.
And that's what happened in Pennsylvania. They emptied out the prisons. All right, we're just going to let everybody out. And then we're supposed to be surprised. Every one of these heinous crimes that is occurring, and people see the videos and they're reading the headlines about it, almost without exception. Occasionally you have somebody who becomes like a deranged mass shooter or something, and that's maybe the first crime they've committed. That does happen. 99% of the time, though, when you see just a day-to-day crime, someone attacking somebody on the subway with a hatchet or whatever, they have a long criminal record. And you would think that any rational person would see this, although this is against the Democrat progressive mindset on this. They reject this. But when you've had somebody who's been arrested 10 times or 30 times or 100 times, they are a menace to the public. They are a danger to the people around them, and letting them out sooner isn't going to help. Not prosecuting them seriously isn't going to help. We have run this experiment. I mean, to your point, yeah, we're no longer in that period of, we all feel safe, relatively speaking. Yeah, it is perception tied. But when you have, nobody wants to get on the subway and feel that sense of foreboding, that sense of low-level anxiety and even and fear, because yesterday somebody on the same subway line, was attacked by a maniac, literally a maniac with a samurai sword, which just happened in New York. I mean, what is going on? You think you're going to work and someone starts slashing you with a samurai sword? That's going to be something that you carry with you forever. And Democrats are saying, yeah, we're too harsh. That's their whole mentality.
And that's why they have to get their ass kicked in 19 days. That's why this has to be a referendum, a reckoning to your point, Buck, on the fact that basically ever since COVID started, they've gotten everything 100% wrong. And it's not just that they got everything 100% wrong, Buck. It's that they lectured anyone and piled on with mobs on social media for anyone who dared question their decisions. They didn't even allow a real debate to happen. You were a grandma killer if you thought kids should stay in school. That's what happened. That's how we ended up here, and that's why they need to be absolutely eviscerated in this midterm.